Greetings, my name is Kevin Limiti. I'm the city government reporter for KDH News, and I'm here with newly appointed Councilman at Large Riakos Adams. How are you doing today, sir?
I am living the dream.
Great.
The each day as it comes.
So maybe you could start by telling us a little bit about yourself.
Okay. Again, I'm Riakos Adams. I was born and raised in Washington, D.C. Graduated from Benjamin Banneker Academic High School, which just celebrated 40 years of existence. Although I missed the celebration because I had COVID back in July. I got my commission at Howard University in 2000 after spending some time in the DC National Guard on active duty, enlisted, and I went through ROTC through the Howard University program. I got my degree from University of the District of Columbia in political science. It was actually a reversal because I started off as a business major with international affairs, and then I left school, enlisted, and I realized I need to get back on track, and my major became political science with a minor in business. Came here after the basic course, military police basic course, because that's what I was assessed, and I was assigned to the MP station, well, 3 Corps Provost Marshal's office, and then moved over to 4th ID and deployed with the 4th Military Police Company, where I was the XO and a platoon leader. I ran the prison. I set up and ran the prison and provided General Odierno his protection services, and I did a few missions here and there. Left there, went to career course, then headed to Korea, where I took command and spent my brigade staff time, and then on 8th Army staff. And then I was selected to be a foreign area officer. Got initially tied and changed to Korean, then it was changed to Japanese. And then I missed a couple of classes because of an illness and death in the family, and I became a Spanish fail, which worked out because I had quite a few years of Spanish, both at college and high school. So I spent time in Chile. Then I came back to WINSEC at Fort Benning, I need to say the full acronym, the Western Hemisphere Institute of Security Cooperation. And then I came back here for Hood as a military police officer. But I was at Div West I ran the Operations Center. And then I went up here and went over to the 8th MP Brigade, 89th MP Brigade, and went to Korea. In that time, I've got my master's in business. Started working on the PhD. I'm taking a break from it right now. PhD in human services. I may start back in the fall or the next session. And I think I'm pretty active in the community. I was active with volunteer service growing up in DC. I was a Boy Scout, obviously. I swam, got my congressional award because of some of the volunteer service things that I did. And a few friends of ours, we put together a program called City United, and that was my first foray into establishing a nonprofit. and we started off with a rally, did community service projects throughout the area, and then finished it off with a big party. And that got the attention of the first ladies, just to tell my age, but Barbara Bush was the first lady at the time. And that, I'm not saying that led to the creation of Points of Light, but Points of Light came about a lot long after that. I think that was part of Bush's intention with his 1,000 Points of Light discussion and bringing out national service and volunteer service and promoting it.
That's pretty neat.
Yeah. And so now I'm also the president of Killeen Volunteers, which is this area's affiliate of Points of Light.
Very nice. And you have now also been recently appointed as the council member at large. Were you surprised by getting the appointment?
I was very surprised. I had considered withdrawing my name. But then, I don't know, something just said, like the week prior, just said, oh, just wait. And I stayed there. I showed up, and I seen all the all the messages about me being there, but I had already planned on being there anyway. There were other applicants inside the chambers as well. They didn't get as much airplay as me being there for obvious reasons.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Could you maybe talk a little bit about what some of your goals are for the term that you have in the council?
Yeah, just like my previous appointment, I had not as long amount of time to accomplish some of the goals, but as an at-large member, that has a broader. It's like you don't have a. It's like you got to find a focus area. Whereas a district rep, your first focus is helping the district and be a part of the citywide team. But I kind of transportation. I want to really look at how we're. I know that Hawk is expecting to change their bus system, and I want to make sure that people understand what it is and get their voice in how that process is up before we decide to support it or not. Right now, I don't know where that is, but I believe that transportation is a driver of that, the economic development. Because we can build all we want to build, on the houses we want to build, but if we're not connecting everything. And even with transportation, road infrastructure, it's tied to that as well. Before I got off council the previous time, I pushed to have funding done for the stagecoach, Zephyr, and a lot of the intermediate roads that kind of connect, the arterial roads that connect to the main roads.
Right.
And so I want to continue to doing that. Economic development, I think we always got to attract more businesses to have more jobs. Because if we're building houses and we're not bringing businesses, who can afford the houses? And I honestly, I like for Killeen to be a place where people come to and stay, not because we have a transient community with our service members, and we also have those that have come here because of disasters in other places, and not a lot of times some of them may not have the same economic capability, and so we have to make this an enticing place, not just because it's this. We have to take advantage of the fact that this is a safe area when it comes to the major disasters. So when those individuals feel like they need to come here for that, then while they're here, let's have jobs for them, let's have affordable housing. And then at the same time, if you have $1 billion and you want to buy a large estate here, let this be the place. We have kind of drifted towards being a bedroom committee, so I want to kind of address or promote smart development where we can address the spectrum of incomes. I like to see more entertainment stuff here as part of that development. And I've joked about this last year. I play SimCity. And if you have too much residential and not enough industrial or commercial, your game, you go broke. If you have too much commercial but not enough residential or industrial, you lose. So it's like you got to try to find the right balance. And we have the land in our ETJ as well as our current city limits. As long as we do the right thing with it, not have too much of a particular thing, but just the right amount.
And you mentioned attracting businesses, and you mentioned entertainment specifically. Is there any particular type of business in that area that you would be interested in attracting?
I would look, and there's another point I want to push to, but I like people leave here to go to Slitterbond or now I know it's a wild dream, but it'd be nice if we could build the amusement park here. But prior to that, people go to the go-karts, people go to the movies, and we have a decent movie theater here. People go other places for shopping, and that's where I was referring to. So we have what's going to become a major interstate going right through the middle of the city. If we can make the development around there for people to want to stop, like when you drive down 35 through Austin, you have outlets, and you go further down to San Antonio, you have places you want to stop. You go north, you go through Dallas, you may not have any intention of stopping in Dallas, but you find yourself stopping in Dallas. I don't want to say a particular business name because I don't want to give anybody a one-up on anyone else. But if we have something where people stop and it makes them want to stay in the area, It could help the museum, it could help our downtown, and that may be the source of somebody, I might wanna live here again. Another thing I wanna push is youth engagement, youth and community engagement. I did push for us to have a summer youth employment program. It started off with a few, students that participated this year. My hope is to expand that, and a lot of that is us getting out, telling people that it's there. We can apply the money to it, but if we don't have the students to participate, and I think that directly ties into the economic development in our city lifeline. Because there are a lot of cities where the students, when they graduate, they leave, and the city starts to die. And I just turned 50 years old. I'm not gonna be here that much as long as an 18-year-old. It's our job to make it so that they wanna stay here to build the city even more.
Right, yeah. And I just wanted to ask you, during your last term as council member, what would you consider to be some of your significant accomplishments during that tenure?
I would definitely say getting council convinced to do the youth employment, some youth employment and enrichment program. The dealing with the stagecoach funding for the design. Bring in some, and I can't say that was just as me, but I did push it because I served on K-Temple. The Chapel Road. We see how once the high school was built, I would like to say I was influential in trying to bring the attention to getting the discussion going. And outside of that, supporting the downtown, I did propose a downtown advisory committee. And I working with Councilmember Gonzalez to keep that going as a way to have a city body that actually advises the council on that, not ignoring the other bodies that exist. What else? I think I'm drawing a blank. I know that, so a lot of the conferences I go to, my question is always, I ask people, why not Killeen? So if you're an airline and you're asking me about the city contracting with you, then I ask you, why aren't you in Killeen at our airport? The only way that can be considered is if you're here why would I drive to Austin to use you as an official airline? Right. If you're doing business with Four Cavazos, why are you not in Killeen? And refer them to the experts that can get them to come here. And do my part afterwards to support whatever incentives are needed to get them here.
Right, yeah. So as you probably know, there was some controversy about your appointment.
Yes.
Some people said that you should not have been appointed because you had previously lost an election, and I just wanted to ask you if you could respond to that.
Well, first, when the council's will is done, that's if you're charged with representing the council's will, then that's your job, is to respond on the council's will. Secondly, that was a district election, and unfortunately I was going through a few things, and I didn't campaign the way I should have. So I was, and I'm not saying if I campaigned more that I would have won. I possibly could, because the loss was 270. And either way, the charter says the council appoints. Again, I wasn't expecting to be appointed. It wasn't and everybody has their right to their opinion. The facts being what it is, I'm here now and I'm still accountable to the citizens of Killeen. I'm not accountable to any particular council member. I'm still just as a regularly elected council member, because the same thing happened before when I was appointed. People asked the same, the attitude I had initially gotten was, "Oh, you're just appointed." Well, I'm still in the seat with the same rights as every other council member, so I'm not just appointed. I'm here now, and and I agree. I do not agree with doing something outside of the charter. If the charter says do this, and if we want to change it, then we change the charter. And I'm not against anyone doing a proposal to change the charter to require special elections. But if that is basically I understand there's a cost for that. And once you put it in a charter, then that's a request that the city has to make sure we budget for every year of the potential of somebody not, somebody stepping down. The goal is if anybody serves, that they serve the entire time. But as far as, I think the controversy, well, I think it was unnecessary controversy. Again, the charter says the council appoints. The vote was 5-1. If you voted no, that's your right, and no hard feelings either.
Right, and so Councilman Jose Segarra and some others, I believe, mentioned that your experience was something that was a factor in you being appointed. They made mention of how they were in the middle of a budget season.
Yes.
And then some other people, people like Mayor Debbie Nash King and Councilman Solomon said, well, the budget's pretty much done, and so what was the reason? How do you respond to that?
Again, the deliberation happened in closed doors, so realistically I shouldn't know about anybody. I feel when Councilman Segarra said publicly, even when he called and stated that, asked me was I still interested. I paused because I initially was going to focus on other stuff, but I said I still wanted to serve. So yes, again, everybody has their opinion. I do have the experience because I've done it before. Right now, the next other person would have had to rush to go to the newly elected members training. I'm already was on K-Tempo. I was able the next day to go right into the K-Tempo meetings and continue on because I served on 2 committees, the bylaws committee and a project committee on that. I was part of the budget priorities meeting, so I knew that there were specific things that I knew I wanted to look at, and I also knew what the discussions with other council members had. Now, the other person, could they have done that? Possibly. I'm always saying this, you're in your elected seat, you're right 50% of the time, wrong 50% of the time, 50% of the time. So no matter what way you vote, somebody's gonna find a reason to do it. I think also, as we make statements as leaders in the city, we have to consider the ramifications or the potential outcome of those statements. It's like throwing a Molotov cocktail into a church, and you thinking, you're not expecting nothing wrong to happen.
Yeah, do you think that some of these controversies and politics make it difficult to get things done in session?
No, because there's 7 council members that vote. The mayor votes in case of a tie, and if everybody is there, there's no need for the mayor to vote. As long as we keep our eyes on what our purpose is, and the voters will pay attention to that. As long as we educate the voters on what the role the role the council has in a county, in a council manager form of government. We can't. I personally, like I said, I just turned 50 years old. I haven't gotten to the old man phase where I can say what I'm saying, whatever I want, but I've always not allowed what appeared to be a negative statement take control of me. If I'm saying I'm about serving the community, I can't be redirected by a statement that appears or attempts to try to tear me down. If I allow someone else to attack it, that means I've given them all the power. And being an elected official, and I know people say, well, you're only appointed, but you're appointed to an elected seat. So for semantics, I'm saying being an elected official, there's 160,000 people that are out there. 60,000 people are registered voters responsible for all 160,000, whether they voted or not. Not all of them are going to be happy with what I did yesterday, what I'm going to do next week or afterwards. But as long as I'm responding and I can explain why I'm responding to their requests or redirecting them where they need to be, then they know I'm doing the job. And if I focus on what other people are saying, that takes away from the job itself.
Fair enough. Could you maybe tell me what your reaction was to the recall petition that was not submitted, but was um, had begun the process of by Patsy Bracy. Um, just wanted to hear your thoughts about that.
It didn't matter to me whether it went forward or not.
Mm.
It was a time where I would have fought against it. I just didn't this time.
Yeah. I mean, Nash King seemed to believe that you might have like edited it or something.
Yeah, and like I told y'all before, I was going because of the desire to create drama. I was not going to go into that. I saw saw it. And that was a question. Yes, I did. And there are people that are upset that I at least looked at it and I did not stop it. Not my job to stop it.
All right.
If you don't want to, if you don't want to, it's every person's right to decide how they want their government to look, whether it's Ms. Bracy or any other citizen. To naysay anybody that's doing part of a process, I think that is wrong. Just like we're not naysaying Mr. Oprah. You haven't heard anything negative from Mr. Segarra or Mr. Alvarez. They're just doing their jobs. So they're going forward. And as far as I was concerned, if you have nothing to worry about, then you don't worry about it. Now, as far as me being behind it, I'm not, and I wasn't. Ms. Grace is her own person. She does what she wants to do when she wants to do it, how she wants to do it. And I also noticed that a number of other people were accused of being behind it, and I think that's reaching for straws. I'm not a psychiatrist, psychologist, so I won't make the statement that that's in the back of my head of what I think that is, because I'm not qualified to do that. But I think that if just like an election, for example, my last election, could I have campaigned more than I did? Yes. If the voters didn't see that I was doing my job, then it's their right to replace me. If in that period after being elected, you don't think I'm doing what I'm supposed to do, you have every right. And even if you approach me and ask me and say, we're going to recall you, that's your right. Because when I close my eyes and I know I did what I was supposed to do, I'm okay. If you get into this, and I hate that it's called a game, you get into this field or you have to set all sides of it. It's like going into combat. You go to war, there's 50% chance that you're not going to come back the way you came. That's the highest number that the percentage or the closest percentage of survivability. So you get into this political process as a leader or elected official or what have you. You're going to get people to naysay. You're going to get people to say you're just wrong. You're going to get people to do things. And if you can't accept that, then it's time to go home and sit down.
And, on that note, why did you want to get involved in politics in the first place?
I was born in D.C. And so from where I lived, you could see the Capitol, even though that used to be swamp, and sometimes it's still a swamp. But he gets a bad name. Marion Barry had a program called the Mayor's Youth Leadership Institute. And it gave youth leaders in the city an opportunity to see the processes. And I would say back in elementary school, the desire to help people and then finding out that I could get elected to do that by my peers, that's where it started. And then growing up and you having teachers who were part of the civil rights movement that talked about what people did to get the vote and to participate. And so I don't see politics has become a bad thing. And I like to say I'm a political scientist by academics, and I'm a member of Political Sciences Association. I don't like to say I'm a politician because now that just looks and sounds bad, as you can see with all this other stuff. And so growing up, I always said I used to say I wanted to be president. The White House was in my backyard. I see it every time I go to high school because my bus would come past. Well, you couldn't go in the front of the White House by then. Actually, you could have. And my mom worked downtown across from the White House. So when I go down there, looking out of her office, I'm seeing the office. And I've been in the Capitol and I'm watching that. And I think it's more so being able to convince people to vote for me because I want to serve them. Now, and you had the League of Women Voters who used to bring the voting machines into the school so you could vote for your elected student leadership. And just being a part of that, I don't know, it just felt like, and it's kind of, that's also what led me to serve in the military. It's just that desire to serve people. And there is a certain level, and we got to accept that everybody, first of all, everybody has some level of narcissism. Politician has a slightly more, but some of that, even if you have a desire to serve, you're still getting a benefit from yourself. It's the same with community service. When you're serving other people, like Anna Luisa last night got a reward. I got recognized with a K-Star. Anna Luisa does things without helping people without, but if she didn't feel good about helping people, would she still do it? Because you never heard people say, "Oh, I'm just hurt by helping people." So and I think some of that, and it's just some of the things that my mother instilled in me growing up, some of my mentors, and it just, I saw getting into it now, but I didn't touch it at all the 22 years I was in the military. Even as an officer, I didn't think we should be actively involved in definitely not partisan politics, but you should be engaged in your community, but not necessarily involved in the political process other than voting.
Right. And so now that you've been appointed, and it seems like a lot of that was people referring to your experience, how are you going to tackle some of the budgetary issues? Because, like as others point out, you're in the middle of it. So, what do you think? What do you think you can do?
I've just completed a review. First, I'll be meeting with Mr. Cagle to have answer questions about some things that I think should be in there. I do think we should have a town hall. That's one of the other things I'm going to address. If I can get council to agree to that, but we only have a month before it's actually be finalized. We want to have a budget before October 1st for sure. Definitely because it affects so many other things.
Right.
But I think we should have a town hall to get citizens a chance to at least chime in without the Open Meeting Act rules during the regular council meeting. So in the town hall, you get up and have your say, as long as you don't monopolize the discussion about the budget. And if enough people can come out and state it, but we also have to make that's also should be an opportunity to make the budget plain speak for people, to show them this is where this is going, this is where this is going, and then showing people how our budget is on a regular basis may justify if we decide to do a bond later. That's how you sell the need for big projects, by showing this is what we're going to do, and if enough people complain, hey, we don't have enough recreation. The budget will show why, and as long as it's efficient, you're showing you're operating efficiently, and we still don't have enough. Sometimes you'll have residents say, okay, let's raise the taxes. I won't say, let's raise the taxes, but if constituents keep reaching out, then I'll have no choice but to, whether I agree with raising them or not.
Right.
But I do understand Texas. It took a minute to understand Texas municipal finance. I'm not even discuss school finance. That's a whole nother animal by itself. And then attending the TML conferences and the workshops that I've gone to, it helped me to be able to look at it better. Like our tax rate, what the limitations on the tax rate, and the fact that we only get 13 cents on your dollar, and we have to figure out how to take that 13 cents on your dollar and do all the things that we need to do.
All right. Well, we're coming to our end here. However, I would like to say if there's anything you would like to add that maybe we did not touch upon during the interview, you're welcome to go ahead and speak.
I think we talked about a lot of things. I really, and I would ask KDH if you could help with that. We have to get more people involved in the process. Whether they're going to run for office, we have boards and commissions I've served on 4 different boards and commissions before I got on council. And when I got on council the last time, they had to replace all those people, but the pool is always the same people. And with 160,000 people here, I'm sure we can get at least 6,000 people interested in it. And I would like to see more people get involved in that process. At the same time, I think we need more people to get involved in voting, because how we vote locally is tells our legislators, like our two representatives from the city that are there now, and our senator, they don't have that much power as we think because they don't have the true voting strength. If when only 5% of your registered voters show up to vote, that's just like say, oh, that don't. But the only whether you agree with that person's political stance or not, we still have to vote so that our representatives know that they got some type of backing. And then at 5 o'clock on Tuesdays is our city council meeting. It should not just be for specific or controversial issues that we have a full gallery. Right now in the budget is going to dictate your tax rate and some other things. You should be in there and you should be asking council members questions. Our citizen comments should be the point where we need to change the way it's done because so many people want to talk. And so if people are not interested, it's our government as citizens on the organization chart as citizens and city council members. That's one of the best ways to hold us accountable. And I'm actually to hold me accountable. You got a question, and I do intend to do a couple of town halls over the next few months, just so I can reach out, because that's the challenge of being appointed and the controversy, or the quote unquote controversy of my appointment. I have to get out more to let people know I'm with them and not with any type of block that may have been assumed or accused.
Well, I want to thank you, Councilman Adams. This is Kevin Limiti with KDH News. Thank you very much for joining us.